Hi, my name is Ashlee Bongiorno. I am a third year student completing a Bachelor in Early Childhood and Primary Education, and this is my presentation for EDN462 Assignment 3. So for this assignment we had to work with a child under 6 years of age, and I chose to work with my goddaughter Alana. Alana is a pseudonym for her real name to protect her identity. She is 5 years of age. She is 4 weeks younger than my daughter, and they have been best friends since the day they were born. So I've had a really large role in her life and have had the pleasure of watching her grow. She's always been someone who's been very advanced and developed far beyond other children her age. Her engagement throughout the activities is a testimony to her comfortability within my presence and within my home. Alana always expresses her ambition to also be a teacher when she grows up, and she throws herself at the opportunity to work along with me, and that is evident in all the photos and all the recordings and all the activities I've had the chance to do with her. From assignment 2, I came to the conclusion to work within the number and algebra strand, more specifically number and place value. As from the diagnostic tasks that I did with Alana, she proved to be extremely competent in counting in sequence, writing numbers, and visually representing numbers up to 10, when at this age we really want to be up and around the 20 mark, and also wanted to focus on some partitioning techniques and extend her sabotaging strategies and capabilities, as well as she proved to be competent up until 3 or 4, but anything past that she struggled with. So the 3 curriculum links that I chose to focus on, even though a couple of others came up by chance, the main ones are: establish understanding of the language and processes of counting by naming numbers in sequences, initially to and from 20, moving from any starting point. Connect number names, numerals, and quantities, including 0, initially up to 10 and then beyond, and represent practical situations to model addition and sharing. So the first activity I did was number writing with squishy bags. So this is a really simple activity, but something that I found was really effective in developing not just her writing skills, being able to write numbers 1 to 20, but also being able to put both the visual and verbal relationships together. So being able to say 10, but also knowing what 10 looks like and how to reproduce that as well. So the foundation of this activity was, first of all, creating a squishy bag, which is just a sandwich Ziploc bag with a bit of paint, and I added a bit of water to make it a little bit more watery. I also created a flip chart with the numbers 1 to 20 on it that you can see in the corner of the photo on this page. And then I had Alana use a pencil rather than her finger, because this was also something that I could work on, was her actual pencil grip. So the curriculum connections that I found during this learning activity was connect number names, numerals, and quantities, including 0, initially up to 10 and then beyond. So we worked right up until 20, and I found that she powered through the first 10 numbers, but as soon as it got from 11 and beyond, she really had to stop. She had to go back and count on, so quite often she'd go back to 10 and then go 10, 11, 12, 13, and counting up until the number she was at. So some focus questions that I threw in was, when I saw her hesitating or not too sure, I'd reiterate, what number is that? Let's say it out loud. And then being able to say what number comes next. So specifically when she came to a number that she wasn't sure, so 17 for example, I asked her to have a think about it and gave her some time to try and come up with it in her own way. When she wasn't, then I asked her what the number we just did was, which she was able to answer, obviously being 16. And then I asked her, well, what number comes after 16? And she was able to go, well, 15, 16, 17. So she was able to make that connection. And obviously the counting on technique is something that is really important at this age and can really benefit them in mathematics at this age as well. So Alana really enjoyed this activity from what I understood. She didn't lose her engagement, she didn't lose her focus. So overall I found it to be quite successful. My squishy bag probably wasn't the right ingredients. It wasn't quite at a texture that the numbers came up, but they could have been a lot clearer. So probably in the future I would like to introduce sandboxes instead of squishy bags, so actually having a container full of sand and asking them to use that. Otherwise, actually visually presenting the numbers with things like shells, counters, and being able to create a pattern at the same time, which then draws in another content descriptor as well for this age group. So the second learning experience was rock and roll maths. So again, a really simple activity where we collected a container of rocks, because that's something that we had readily available in our front yard, and provided a dice, and I asked her to roll the dice and then create that group using the rocks. So this activity focused on the curriculum links of sabotage small collections of objects and represent practical situations to model addition and sharing. The second strand was actually added in later in the activity, as I found this was something she could do with ease. She was able to sabotage from 1 to 6 without hesitation. So I chose to add in an addition part of it as well towards the end, where she'd roll the dice, create a group, and then I'd ask her, okay, well, let's add the next roll to it. Let's roll again. And whatever number comes up, we're going to add it to the existing group, count it, and come to the total. So during this activity, she also showed evidence of the one-to-one correspondence counting technique. She had to physically touch each object, but she showed a clear understanding of knowing that the last rock was not worth the whole total, but that it was just the conclusion, and that number was the total of all the rocks. So that was really good to see that she knew all of that already. So some focus questions that we asked was, how many is that? So this was something she didn't have to ask too many questions about because she knew it. So I used questions to provoke her thinking, asking how many is that. I found that when she laid her rocks out, they were always in a straight line. Even though the dice had different patterns, I kind of had an expectation that she would reproduce the patterns that were on the dice, but she didn't. So that was really interesting to see. So I'd actually asked her to reposition her groups and see if she can present them to me in a different way, and then explain to me why she chose that way to do, or why it's more visually appealing for her to do that. And although she couldn't answer me, I could tell that she was definitely thinking about it and trying to process that thought. And yeah, so this activity focused on sabotaging arrays and simple addition as well, just introducing the idea of addition in a visual way. So the third and final learning experience we did was a nice fun one that I got to join in with as well. So that's always a bonus, and it's counting on using a balloon. So I, at the end of all this, did not have a balloon anywhere in my house. So luckily my 2-year-old has a ball that is extremely light and fluffy and really nice to play with. So we used that instead. And the basis of this activity is you're pushing the ball up above your head, much like a volleyball shot, and you are to keep it off the ground. And what you're doing is every time you hit it and keep it above ground, it's 1, 2, and you're counting on to see how high you can get, and then you're trying to beat that the next round. So the curriculum links for this one were establish understanding of the language and processes of counting by naming numbers in sequences, initially to and from 20, moving from any starting point. So Alana really enjoyed this activity. She did struggle with it at first. I didn't take into fact that she may not be able to throw and catch at a high standard yet, and that's something that I learned on the spot. And this is why I chose to come into the game as well, because I could help her keep it off the ground. basically. So some focus questions that I asked was, how can we beat the last score? So coming up with some techniques such as, oh, well, you stand here and I'll stand here because the ball seems to be going in this direction a lot, or me demonstrating her how to hold her hands and how to hit the ball. And there was even one point where I said, okay, this isn't working, so instead of just hitting it, let's actually catch it and hold it for a second and then release it again. And I found that was an easier way to bring the focus back to actually counting on maths instead of playing with the ball. So other questions we asked was, what was your last score? And why did we think that this time was higher than last time? Which quite often the answer would be because we're getting better as we practice more. The other thing I really liked about this activity is it wasn't just about maths, it was also about fine and gross motor skills, and being able to integrate other areas of the curriculum is always an added bonus as well for my experience as well as Alana's development. So where to from here? From my perspective, I honestly believe Alana is meeting the marks at her age. I wouldn't say that she's going beyond it just yet, but definitely meeting it at the standard she should be. So I would start to actually focus on some year one content, just getting her ready, especially being halfway through the year now, trying to push her in the right direction, getting her closer to counting to 100 as opposed to 20, 30 at the moment. So some highlights that I found was Alana needs to continue to develop number names above 10, so she'd get stuck with the more difficult 16, 17, 19 numbers that look a bit different, I guess, and that Alana needs to practice counting in sequences over 30. She could count rapidly from 1 to 30 with ease and then would jump to 50, 60, 70. So bringing in that understanding of how the sequencing progresses, the understanding of the different units and place values as well. And then expanding on her knowledge of basic addition factors as well. So play-based pedagogy, I am a huge advocate for play-based learning. I think it is such an effective way, especially for children of this age, because it really draws in their engagement. At this age, they need to want to learn. If they don't want to learn, it's going to be really hard to meet those goals and get the outcomes that you want to achieve. So some benefits of intentional play-based learning is that it encourages language development. It also develops social skills, because in a lot of these situations, it's not one-on-one learning. There's going to be 10 other kids learning at the same time and learning from one another. That it also fosters creativity and imagination. Quite often play-based will allow or offer the opportunity to be able to be child-led and let them take the learning experiences down paths that they want to go down, and that engages children in learning by making it fun, and I think that is one of the most important ones. So just quickly, play-based learning is described in the EYLF as a context for learning through which children organise and make sense of their social worlds as they actively engage with people, objects and representations. So that's all for my presentation today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.